The chandeliers at the Lakeside Banquet Hall hummed with dim electricity, casting warm rings over white tablecloths and a mountain of roses. Silverware chimed. Jazz from a rented trio drifted like old perfume. I stood behind the dessert table, watching a tuxedoed line snake pass the strawberry shortcake. The sign said, Charles Whittemore Retirement Gala. My husband liked his name on things. He liked the echo. A volunteer from the Veterans Post adjusted the flag near the stage. The silk crackled softly. The sound tugged at something steady in me. I smoothed my dress and breathed in lemon polish, fresh coffee, and the faint bite of dry ice from the bar. My fingers found the cool weight of a pocket watch in my clutch. It had belonged to Charles's father. The hinge squeaked when it opened. The sound was a whispered promise. Denise, our nanny, glided by in a glittering navy dress. She wore confidence like a borrowed fur. People saw a caregiver promoted to guest. They didn't see the lipstick on my husband's undershirt last month. They didn't hear the muffled giggle through the nursery door. I did. I heard everything. The toast began. Laughter rolled like a slow tide. Familiar faces glowed. Harold from the board, Linda from philanthropy, Frank from the plant. I counted my breaths. The violinist slid into a melody older than half the room. It reminded me of a jukebox I used to feed quarters. My voice when it came would be calm. Charles took the microphone and lifted a glass. To hard work? To family? To loyalty. The room applauded. He beamed, every tooth a headline. When he reached the end, he turned toward me. And to my wife, who stood by me. I stepped toward the stage. The carpet cushioned my heels, soft as a secret. He leaned down, smiling. His whisper was for me alone. You were never enough, Ashley. 5 words. They hit like cold rain and slid away. I had brought an umbrella. I felt the watch again. It was warm now, catching the heat from my palm. The engraving on the back, Time Tells Truth, pressed into my skin. I faced the tables. Betty dabbed her eyes. Walter patted his jacket pocket like he'd lost a memory. The band played softer, sensing a change in the air. Denise floated to my side, her perfume sugary and sharp. She tilted her chin. Stay quiet, little girl. 4 words. The second taunt, the last one I would allow. I looked at the crowd and saw 100 expectations. In their eyes, I was the young wife, 28 and grateful to be chosen. In my bones, I was something else. I touched the watch again. It clicked open, and the hinge sang like a tiny door. I lifted my glass. A toast, I said. My voice carried clear past the centerpieces. The jazz faded to a low thread. The hall smelled of coffee and money. I could feel the linen under my fingertips, crisp as a new decision. In a minute, I said, I'll tell you a story. The trio folded their hands. The volunteer by the flag stopped moving. A waitress froze with a tray of lemon cake, the scent bright and tender. Charles stepped back, confident. He had no idea what I had learned to carry in silence. He had no idea what silence can do. I touched the edge of the watch with my thumb, feeling the groove where the lid met the case. A single breath steadied me. It begins, I said, somewhere smaller than this. I let the moment hang. The room leaned forward, soft shoes whispering against carpet. The chandelier's dim buzz seemed louder, like a hive waking. Somewhere like a diner, I said, and the clatter of forks paused, and the music died entirely. I smiled once, briefly. Where stories are brewed as strong as the coffee. The watch snapped shut, neat as a period. I took one step back from the microphone and let the silence settle, heavy as velvet. The bandleader lowered his bow. The volunteer's hand trembled on the flagpole. My heart was steady. Listen, I said, and the hall did. Cliffhanger. I will tell the story, but not yet. I grew up where the interstate smudges passed a town that never argued with winter. My mother worked 2 jobs and wore courage like a snug coat. The diner on Elm had a chrome jukebox that ate quarters and sang old promises. The booths were smooth as river stones. The coffee was always hot. I learned to fold napkins quickly and listen faster. Back then, I was Ashley with a ponytail and a stubborn streak. I did homework by the glow of a neon pie sign. The smell of bacon braided through my notebooks. Regulars argued about baseball and pensions. One old Marine slid a silver coin to me once and said, "Hold on to honor. It's the only thing that spins everywhere." I kept that coin. Still do. College scholarships opened like lucky envelopes. I studied quietly and moved quicker than people expected. Some nights I wiped counters. Some nights I drilled procedures. Later, I joined the Air National Guard, commissioned, learned to breathe under pressure, to speak when a room needed a steady hand. The uniform taught me posture. The service taught me patience. Rank is less about salutes than about restraint. I met Charles at an airport bar with wood that smelled like careful polish. He wore a suit that cost more than my car. He talked about vision and synergy, words that float better than they land. He laughed easily, tipped well, and didn't flinch when I said I had drill on weekends. He liked the novelty of my discipline. I liked his focus at first, like a spotlight. We married under the oak at his mother's old place. His father, a Korean war vet, pressed a pocket watch into my hand. He respects what he can see, the old man said. Teach him to see right. The watch was heavy, its tick steady and patient. I learned its language. We hired Denise after my daughter was born. She came with references and a smile you could mistake for kindness. I returned from a 2-week training and found new wine in the cabinet and new laughter in the hallway. My baby smelled like powder and vanilla. Denise's bracelets clinked like small lies. Evidence arrived in whispers. A lipstick shade I didn't own. A double charge at a hotel near the plant. A lullaby hummed by a voice that wasn't mine. The nanny cam, meant for safety, saw everything. I watched once, then closed the window. I didn't scream. I took notes. In the meantime, Charles's father's trust matured. Buried in its language was a clause everyone ignored because money breeds complacency. If character failed, stewardship passed. The language was old-fashioned. The meaning wasn't. The trustee would decide. The trustee was me. I visited the VFW hall one evening. The bar stools groaned like reliable friends. The smell was old leather, spilled beer, and a hint of pipe tobacco that had married the wood decades ago. Walter from Post 317 polished a plaque with slow circles. "You look tired, kid," he said. "Tired is fine," I replied. "Tired keeps secrets." He lifted a battered medal from behind the bar. "His dad left this here once," he said. "Said it reminded him that eyes are always on you." I touched the rim. It was cold and honest. Back home, I opened the pocket watch by my kitchen window. The hinge clicked. The baby monitor hissed softly in the quiet house. I slipped a thin, folded letter behind the photo inside, a notarized directive from his father's lawyer. It smelled faintly of paper dust and ink. The watch closed with a small snap that felt like a decision made. I practiced my voice in the mirror, low and plain. I would not yell. I would not tremble. I remembered the old Marine's coin and put it in my dress pocket, its ridged edge a steadying bite against my fingertip. I slept for 3 hours and woke up sure. Now the banquet lights are warmer than memory. Charles's smile is a billboard. Denise is a starlet in good lighting. People who clap for wealth rarely see the cost. I can show them without raising my voice. I reach for the watch again. The metal warms instantly, like it's alive. The room smells like champagne and polished wood. The band waits, bows hovering. I said the story begins in a diner, I tell them. My mouth is dry, but my hands are steady. I remember the clink of mugs and the jukebox glow on worn linoleum. I remember a promise I made to myself before I knew this hall existed. I would be the kind of woman who chose respect over comfort, even when comfort wore diamonds. The past folds itself, tidy as a napkin. I straighten my back. The present opens like a door. I won't take long, I say, and the room returns to now. Cliffhanger. Backstory finished, the present is ready to answer. The hall holds its breath in velvet gloves. Forks rest like question marks. I set my glass down and step center stage. The microphone catches the soft rasp of my dress brushing against the stand. A server shakes out a white napkin. The sound is crisp as frost. I learned work at a diner, I say. I learned duty in uniform. People nod. Names in front rows, Susan, Harold, Betty, lean forward with soft curiosity. I can feel the heat of the stage lights drying the back of my neck. Beneath it, a cooler current moves through me, measured and deliberate. Charles steps closer, still smiling like a spokesman. I catch the coffee scent drifting from the back, dark and steady. Denise positions herself near the cake, close enough to act concerned. The chandelier flickers once, like a wink from an old theater. I also learned that silence has purpose, I continue. It gathers facts. It builds bridges that can bear weight. My thoughts, quick and tidy, march in time with my pulse. I picture the coin in my pocket and feel its rough rim. I imagine the runway at the guard base, lines bright against night, and the way a pilot trusts a checklist. Harold clears his throat. Ashley, he says softly, is this? His voice trails off, careful. The trio rests their instruments on their laps and listen, all eyes like small moons. Denise laughs, a tiny bell. She's nervous, she says to Linda. Poor thing. Her bracelets clack together like cheap applause. Her perfume cuts sweet in the air, coating my tongue. It tastes like counterfeit sugar. I lift the watch and let it sit in my palm, face up. The hall catches the glint. Charles's father gave me this, I say. He told me to teach his son to see right. The tick is solid, like good boots on a wooden floor. Charles's jaw tightens. This isn't the time, he says, voice low near the microphone. He wants to herd the moment back into small talk, but 100 eyes are cattle fencing him in. He doesn't see that yet. Time chooses its own time, I reply. My words are even. I could call cadence with them. This hall is full of people who taught him, and me, what honor looks like. Betty reaches for Frank's hand under the table. I notice the way his knuckles whiten, that old factory strength still living in tendon. The room smells faintly of lemon oil and warmed linen. I add in the feel of the watch's engraving under my thumb, the metal faintly ridged from decades of pocket rides. Denise steps closer to the stage. Ashley, she says, you're making a scene. She flashes teeth. Her eyes dance to the nearest phone cameras, as if rehearsing sympathy. No, I say. I'm making sense. A murmur rides the air, a low wave. Someone whispers, "What's happening?" A camera flashes. A white burst skims the ceiling. The flag by the stage shifts in an unseen draft, silk whispering like distant rain. Charles reaches for the microphone. I lift it first. I won't take much of your evening, I say. I need 3 minutes and your patience. He tries a laugh. We can do this at home. We don't live at the banquet hall, I answer. We live in a community that deserves truths tied to money with equal knots. My voice surprises him by not shaking. It surprises no one else. Denise's smile dimples deeper. Sweetheart, she coos, don't embarrass yourself. I blink once, slow. The coin in my pocket presses my hip, an anchor in cloth. I'll be brief, I say again, more gently. The trio's violinist, a woman with gray curls, whispers, "Let her speak." It's quiet. But authority travels strangely far, like the smell of gasoline on a summer driveway. I open the watch. The hinge gives a small, bright click. On its inside rim, under the face, something thin and folded nestles like a secret ally. The paper's edge peeks at me, cream against brass. Charles sees it. He flinches, a bead of sweat forming at his hairline. The sight is sharp as ice water down a spine. Walter from the post stands at the back, hand over his belt buckle. "Let it ride," he mutters. The words carry. People shift, shoes shuffling, chairs sighing. The chandelier's hum persists, but now it's a drum roll. I stayed quiet long enough, I say. The words from my thumbnail line settle into the room like a verdict warming in a judge's drawer. Now the truth burns brighter than his lies. And tonight, he'll finally learn what silence can do. I close the watch halfway, keeping my thumb in the hinge. The microphone picks up a breath I don't remember taking. Charles raises a hand, palm out, a stop sign he thinks still works on me. "Don't," he says. But the word is small in this room now. I step back one pace, clearing the sight line. A row of phones angles upward. The polished floor reflects my shoes, little black boats floating on a dark lake. The folded paper glints again. Then I lift the watch high enough for the front rows to see the letter tucked inside. The glint catches the chandelier's light and sprays tiny stars across the ceiling. Gasps, not words. A wave of them. Cliffhanger. A visible letter in the watch and a man about to be measured. The paper whispers when I slide it free. The sound is thin and confident. I keep my grip steady. The hall smells like warm sugar from the cake and the faint ozone of too many lights. The letter feels cool against my fingers, linen stock with a raised seal that rubs faintly under my thumb. This is a directive, I say. Not from me. I unfold it slowly. The crease lines are sharp as rails. From Charles's father, dated 5 years ago, notarized. I tilt the page so the raised emblem catches the light. A ripple of recognition moves through the older men from the plant. They know official paper when they see it. Charles chuckles, a brittle sound. "Ashley," he says, "this is absurd theater." I scan the first lines, even though I've memorized them. The words settle like a formation touching down. If the heir shows moral turpitude that endangers the family's reputation, stewardship of the trust and voting rights will transfer to the trustee. It is not antique language. It is accountability written in ink. I hold up the watch. He put this letter under his own picture, I say. He wanted the lesson close to time. Denise crosses her arms and shrugs. A letter? She says to Susan. Please. Her voice wobbles. The cheap bracelets don't sound like applause now. They sound like loose parts. I look at the back row. I've served as a captain in the Air National Guard, I say, plain as weather. I understand chain of command. A few heads lift. The volunteer by the flag straightens, eyes bright. The band leader nods once, as if recognizing a familiar stanza. I also understand evidence, I add. And consequences. I lift a small black voice recorder from the clutch and set it on the podium. I don't need to press play. I already played it for the lawyer this morning. Its metal body is cool, solid, and unshowy. Tonight, it's just a metronome for my voice. I met with his father's attorney, I continue. Verified the directive, verified the clause. I glance at Harold, whose mouth hangs open like a door someone forgot to close. The transfer triggers with documented proof. I level my gaze at the front row. There is proof. The letter's second page peeks out. I slide it free. By this instrument, effective upon notice, the trustee shall assume all voting control. I read it aloud. The syllables are clean. The seal gleams again, light rolling across ink like a respectful wave. Charles's face drains to a hotel sheet color. He takes one step back, then another. The stage light paints his forehead with a sweaty sheen. He swallows hard. The room hears it. The sound lands like a dropped marble. I wanted to keep our private mess private, I say, voice steady. I waited. I watched. I prayed this clause would sleep. I looked toward the flag, then back to the crowd. My eyes sting, not from tears, from heat behind truth. But our nanny is standing here in a gown, and my husband is standing here with gall. Someone in the back claps once, uncertain. Then Walter clears his throat. Read the last line, he calls, voice gravel pulled from a riverbed. I read it. In cases where the trustee deems public trust necessary, notice may be rendered orally at a community gathering, witnessed by not fewer than 50. I sweep the room with my eyes. I count more than 100, a murmur. Then a quiet that isn't silence. It's agreement taking root. I set the letter and the watch together on the podium, side by side. The watch ticks. It has never sounded louder. For months, I say, I stayed quiet. I lift my head. I stayed quiet long enough. Now the truth burns brighter than his lies. And tonight, he'll finally learn what silence can do. Phones tilt. No one looks away. The air tastes metallic, like a penny on the tongue. Denise steps back, heels scraping, a small sound that reveals panic better than words. I raise my right hand. Old habit. By the authority granted in this directive, I say, I'm assuming voting control of the Whittemore Family Trust. I let the words breathe. Effective now. Harold stands shaky. Is this real? He asks. Take the document, I say. Confirm it. Call the lawyer. I slide the contact card forward. He stares at the seal, then sinks back into his seat, the chair grunt loud in the hush. Charles tries a final pivot. You'll ruin us, he says. No, I say gently. I'll save what's worth saving. The letter edges are crisp against my palm. The watch ticks like a small drum. The crowd leans in, drawn by gravity older than business, a wrong drawn into light. Charles takes one faltering step. His shoe slips. He catches himself on the mic stand, the sharp clank ringing out like a bell tolling noon. Cliffhanger. Authority declared, the crowd turning, the man wobbling on the edge of consequence. The first sound after the clank is the violinist's soft intake of breath. Then chairs scrape and settle. The chandelier's hum persists, but now it's a curtain close, not a prelude. I gather the letter and slide it back into the pocket watch, the smooth paper meeting cool brass with a whisper. It feels like placing a flag back in its case. Members of the board, I say, you'll receive copies by morning. I nod to Harold, who's already texting with trembling thumbs. Until then, per the clause, any disposition of shares requires my approval. Charles opens his mouth, shuts it, opens it again. Words fail him the way promises failed me. Denise begins to edge toward a side door. Susan intercepts with a gentle hand on her arm. Stay, she says. Witnesses matter. Her voice is tender and iron-backed, the sound of old teachers and patient mothers. I turn to the crowd. I won't drag you through details, I say. I won't speak crudely. I will say that vows deserve shelter. And when the roof leaks, you fix it. When someone pulls out shingles for sport, you remove his ladder. A low, approving murmur ripples. The air smells of frosting and relief, an odd mixture that still somehow fits. I rub the coin in my pocket with my thumb. Its ridges bite pleasantly like truth insisting. Frank from the plant stands. Ma'am, he says, what happens now? Tomorrow, I answer. A message goes to employees. Stability stays. Projects continue. Leadership changes. I tip my head toward Charles. The trust will nominate an interim chair to prevent impropriety from staining payroll. I keep my voice even. You feed families. You deserve steadiness. Charles lurches forward. You can't do this without me. I meet his eyes, not unkind. I did it because of you. The volunteer by the flag steps closer. Ma'am, he says, you need anything carried? It's the smallest offer and the kindest. I feel the weight of the watch in my hand and nod. Thank you, I say. Just this, Linda rises. Ashley, she says, you were always gracious to the staff. She looks at Charles. Disappointment crosses her face like a cloud. We'll adapt, I breathe in. I can smell the wood of the stage, warm and slightly dusty, like an old auditorium where every performance mattered to someone. I remember the diner's jukebox and the way the chrome reflected faces, young and hopeful. I remember a quiet oath over diner coffee, steam curling like a blessing. Keep your word, even if others don't, Denise finds her voice. I didn't mean... Her sentence tips over a cliff. No one offers a bridge. I step down from the stage. The hem of my dress brushes my ankles, fabric soft as a concession finally granted. People split to make space. I pass the trio. The violinist touches my elbow lightly, callous against silk. This metal, she whispers, patting her case. I carried it since the war. It's not literal for her. She's too young for that era. But the line lands. Honor recognizes itself. At the back, the double doors breathe out a gust of cooler air. It smells faintly of wet asphalt and lake water. I like the honesty of that smell. Outside, the parking lot lights buzz like those old ballpark lamps. A jet's far drone threads the evening. Airports always sounded like second chances to me. Charles calls after me, voice frayed. This isn't over. I turn halfway. It is for you, I say without heat. For the company, it's beginning again. My hands are steady. The watch is warm now, like a small heart. I slide it into my clutch. Time earned a say tonight. It took it. At the coat check, Walter from the post is waiting with my wrap. It smells like cedar from the closet at home. He nods once. You did it clean, he says. That matters. It's the only way it counts, I reply. The coin in my pocket rests. Job done. Denise slips past, head down, the brittle swing gone from her step. She avoids my eyes. I don't stop her. My daughter will learn that dignity does not need a chase. Outside, the air bites my cheeks the way winter does when it's testing the door. I pull the wrap close and feel the fabric rough under my fingertips. I think of the diner's cracked mugs and the way even chipped things carry warmth well. Inside, murmurs rise again. Decisions begin their tidy march. I text a simple message to my mother. Headed home. Tell you tomorrow. She'll pour coffee in a chipped cup and listen. She'll say what she always says. Hold your head up, honey. Respect outlives wealth. I smile. She was right before I was. I step toward the curb, heels tapping in a rhythm I can keep. Behind me, the flag near the stage will be folded, ceremony or not. In another hall across town, an old jukebox might be playing a 70s song about promises and miles. In my pocket, the coin sits quiet. I breathe once more, deep. My voice in my head is calm and mine. I did not break him. His choices did. I only held the mirror steady. A black sedan glides up, driver window down. Mrs. Whitmore? He asks, unsure. I nod, then pause. Just Ashley, I say. He opens the door. I slide in, leather cool against the backs of my knees. The city lights move like fireflies caught in glass as we pull away. In the hush of the car, I hear the faintest tick again, not from the watch, from my pulse settling into a slower, kinder beat. Dignity never ages, I say to the window, and I let the night keep my last silence.